Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Ali Abbas Abdul Karim from College of Dentistry, University of Baghdad. And this is part one of the lecture entitled Writing and Publishing a Research Article. This lecture provides manuscript writing guidelines for all researchers, but specifically for the beginners who recently entering the academic field. What makes a good research paper? Of course, you need a good science so that you can start your work on a solid basis and you expect potential application of your work in clinical and biological fields. And then you need to translate your work into readable material for your audience. And this requires, of course, a good writing style. And finally, you need to ensure that this work will reach the largest number of audience, and this, of course, will be accomplished through publication in relatively good journals. Although publish or perish is an old maxim, but it is still valid in this competitive technological era. Original articles are the largest quantity of manuscripts which get published, because every good peer-reviewed biomedical journal is interested in publishing original research work. Writing an original article has a standard format that needs to be followed. Why we write and publish research papers? Ideally, we think we need to share research findings and discoveries with the hope of improving healthcare. Practically, the reasons are completely different. You need to get funded and to get promoted or to get a job or to keep your job. In general, each manuscript consists of the following sections: title, abstract, introduction, methods, result, discussion, acknowledgement, and references. So what is the correct order of writing a manuscript? Actually, the order of writing a manuscript is different from the way you read it. When you read any article, you'll start with the title, abstract, and then proceed to the end of the article. While in writing, it's completely different. First of all, you'll put a title for your work, and then you will state a hypothesis, put the aims, and then you'll start immediately with the practical aspects in the laboratory or in the clinic. And after you finish your work, and then you need to write your results. After that, you will write the introduction and discussion, and then, or finally, the abstract. Although it is the first part of any manuscript, it will be the last section to be written. Then you will write your acknowledgements, if any, conflict of interest, sources of funding, and the references, and thereby you finish your writing. Majority of the biomedical journals follow the MRAT format, which stands for Introduction, Materials and Methods, Result, and Discussion. While organizing your manuscript, if you could answer the following questions, then the manuscript will be ready. Why and what did you do? This is the objectives and introduction. How did you do? Details of the method section. What did you find? These are the results. What is the meaning of the result and their relevance to the previous literature? This is the discussion part. And finally, what was your message? This is the conclusion. Now we will start to explain each section of the manuscript, starting with the title. Robert Day defined the title as fewest possible words that adequately describe the content of the paper. So what is the importance of the title? Of course, it is the introduction or definition of your study. It creates interest in the reader's mind, from which the readers decide to proceed in reading the abstract or full text of your study or not. Also, it provides keywords for indexing services and helps finding the article in the search engines. What are the criteria of a good title? First of all, avoid too long and too short titles. It should be focused, relevant, and consistent with the objectives of your study. And technically, try to avoid abbreviations in the title. Also, avoid using slashes and semicolons. And it's better to start with a keyword. The titles can be divided into three types: declarative, descriptive or neutral, interrogative or question titles. For declarative title, it is the most recommended one by most of the journals, and it describes the main conclusion of the study. For example, endodontic pathogens causing deep neck space infection, clinical impact of different sampling techniques, and antibiotic susceptibility. So, from the title, we can conclude that the endodontic pathogen is a potential cause of deep neck space infections. For descriptive or neutral titles, they are mostly used for descriptive or observational studies, and unlike declarative titles, they do not include the conclusion of the study. For example, comparison of the use of different methods of mechanical oral hygiene in the prevention of plaque and gingivitis. So, from the title, we cannot conclude which mechanical measures were used and which one was better than the others. Interrogative title, they are not generally recommended for original research. However, they are more suitable for reviews, reviews, commentaries, opinions, because they contain conflict evidences from different studies. For example, antibiotic prescribing by dentists has increased. Why? There are some words and phrases commonly used in the title of articles that do not help in indexing of the article, and these are called the waste words. For example, avoid opening a title with a, an, or the. Also, there are some phrases like effect of, use of, role of, etc. However, effect of can be appropriately used for randomized clinical trials. For example, an investigation of the prevalence of proximal dental caries in representative Iraqi population can be simply written as prevalence of proximal dental caries in Iraqi population. So we have get rid of an investigation, and also we have started our title with a keyword, which is a better title than starting with the waste words. Some journals ask for condensed title, called a short title, also known as running head, subtitle, or running title. This is usually limited between 45 to 50 characters. And the character here, each letter is a character, and each space between two words is also a character. When writing a short title, try to focus on keywords. For example, smoking as a risk factor for periodontal disease can be simply written as a short title, Smoking and Periodontal Disease. After the title, you need to write down full names of the authors followed by the correct institutional affiliation. Institutional affiliation could be the work, the workplace, your workplace, or it could be where the work was conducted. For example, M.A. Ahmed, College of Dentistry, University of Baghdad, Iraq. Then you need to assign the corresponding author, who is the person who will be responsible for communication with the journal during the manuscript submission, peer review, and publication process. If you are the leading author or the first author of the project, do not rely on the others to submit the work, and try to supervise all the submission steps by yourself. As I have mentioned earlier, the abstract is the last section to be written and the first to be read. Abstract could be either structured, which is the most recommended style, by most of the journals, and it consists of the following subheadings: objectives, sometimes they call it introduction, methods, results, and conclusions. And then we have unstructured or the conventional abstract. It is similar to the structured abstract, but it is devoid of any subheadings. And mostly it is uninformative and some parts are missing. You need to consider the following points when writing an abstract. First of all, it should be written in past tense. Then try to avoid abbreviations. Unless it is necessary, then you need to define each abbreviation at its first appearance. Generally, the journals restrict the number of words for the abstract between 200 to 300 words. After writing the abstract, you need to list keywords. Keywords represent the key ideas presented in the article. They aid in selecting peer reviewers, facilitate finding the paper by the journal indexer and the database search engines. Most of the journals use medical subject headings or mesh for the indexing of the journal articles and books. Typically, each journal will ask you between 3 to 5 keywords for your work. Introduction section should be concise and focused, including about 3 paragraphs in one page. The first paragraph should describe what is already known by providing a concise background to create framework, significance, or nature of the problem. Then the second paragraph should explain what is unknown by describing the importance of the problem and undecided issues, or what is called gap in the knowledge. Then the final paragraph should define why the study was done by giving the rationale, hypothesis, and the main objectives. While writing an introduction, try to include the last and the most relevant references, at least from the last 5 years. And then about one-third of the total number of references should be given in the introduction part. One or two references to support each statement are good enough. Generally, uh, most journals, they do not limit the number of words for introduction, but the accepted number of words is about 10 to 15% of the total word count of the manuscript. Most of this section must be written in the present tense since you are talking about established knowledge and not about your work. Methodology is the most important part of the manuscript. Sometimes the rejection or acceptance of your work is completely dependent on your methodology section. So the aim of this section is to provide the details for experimental design of the study that should be reproducible by other authors. This section could be structured or not, and this depends on the journal's guidelines. Usually it is the first part to be written in the article, as we have mentioned earlier. The objectives of this section can be summarized as following. How was the study designed? How was it carried out? When and where the study was conducted? For materials, there is a need to write a precise technical description and amounts and source or techniques of preparation. Try to use the chemical or generic names. Investigational microbes, animals, and the planets should be described precisely. Give accurate details of the materials used, exact dosage, form, example, if you used liquid, tablet, or capsule, and the exact form of the treatment. In case if the study was a complex one, it's advisable to add a flowchart, which could be helpful. If the study required the preparation of some solutions, then give complete details how this solution was prepared. Finally, apparatus, instrument, devices, must be described in sufficient detail to allow the reader to be confident about your results. We're writing the methods. First, start with the study design, whether retrospective, prospective, randomized, and then describe the study population, whether they were animals, human subjects, cells, and then describe the inclusion or exclusion criteria for human studies. Also, you need to mention the criteria for disease definition and diagnosis. Then, mention the name of the ethics committee that has approved the research proposal. Mention when and how the consent was obtained and whether you explained the study to your subjects. Then you need to describe the methods employed to measure all the main parameters in your study. Sample size calculation must be described, plus 10% for dropouts. Actually, it's always better to calculate the sample size before the beginning of the research. It is considered an important part of the study design. In addition, each design has a specific rules to follow. For instance, in case of randomized controlled trials, you need to follow consent statement, whilst drop statement is required for writing observational studies. At the end of the methodology section, detailed statistical information must be given. Also, name of the statistical software together with the details of the company or the developer of this software must be given. Try to confine the word count of this section to 1000 words. And this is the end of the part 1. Thank you for your listening.